If you've been watching Smash Ultimate for any amount of time, there's a name you should have heard about. Someone given the title of GOAT, or greatest of all time in this game. I'm talking about the one and only MkLeo. With more first-place finishes in his prime than I have an analogy for, Leo in his prime was such a dominant force that it felt like he could push through anything in Smash Ultimate's early to mid-meta. Min, a character at the point that had dominant matchups into his two mains, rarely dropped games to the best Min-Mins in the world, even using them to test out new secondaries. No biggie. Kazuya Mishima, a titan of a character that can take one hit and explode your stock? Well, with Byleth's incredible range and ludicrous damage output of his own, he made the character struggle whenever they dared face him. And even when he stumbled to his first time fighting a high-level Steve in Onin, he made sure to bounce back by taking out Akola 3-0 at the Ludwig Smash Invitational. Since then, though, he's slowed down a lot, and had many uncharacteristic losses that hurt my soul deep down when I first heard of them live. Like, seriously, there was a time where if you were a relatively high-level Mario main, you probably had a decent shot at taking down MkLeo. Hey, maybe throw in an unranked Ken there too. What once was a pillar of consistency that was his results turned into a group of inconsistent finishes. Sure, he had his first at King Con, but he also had career lows like 17th at Port Priority 8 and 25th at Genesis X, being the type of predictions to put Prime Leo fans into a coma. It's clear to say he isn't at the top of the hypothetical food chain anymore, and not even to talk about the minor character crisis featuring Meta Knight and Roy that he had. But I say this not to blindly hype up a player who's past his prime, but to paint a picture. You are MkLeo. You've almost single-handedly put Mexico as a top 2 region in Smash Ultimate. You're supposed to be on top of the world, and instead, you're scrambling, unsure of how to even play. Nobody has so dominantly checked you like this, and it's with a character you never thought would give you this much trouble. You're getting farmed by an Olimar player. Shuton is also a name you should know if you follow Smash Ultimate, but that doesn't mean I can assume you do. Another player who's shown throughout Ultimate. In its early life, he was a solo Olimar, kind of solo Olimar god who later picked up a secondary Aegis to help combat the harder matchups Olimar grew to have in this game. Coming from Japan, he was consistently one of the top tier combatants in their region, taking first place in the first half of 2019, and still even now is consistently ranked within the top echelon of competitors in the region. A region, mind you, that has gone from non-noteworthy outside of a few select names to the best region by far. This record isn't only interesting because of the players though. If I wanted to talk about a dominant Japan-Mexico rivalry that was between the two best players from each region, well, I talk about MkLeo and Zachary, obviously. What did you think I meant? So sit down, grab a nondescript drink because I don't have a sponsor to shill yet, and let's go over the history of MkLeo versus Shuton. Before we even mention the two's first ever set against each other, I want to break chronological order and talk about two very related matchups the two have played before. One that, on one hand, informs us on Shuton's comfort in fighting Leo, and one that makes Leo's record versus Shuton even weirder. Let's talk about Shuton first. I mentioned how he was at the top of Ultimate's competitive scene in Japan at the time. And you know who was up there with him? Zachary. My true love for Zachary will have to wait for another video, but he's important to bring up here for context. Zachary was a very similar player to Leo in Ultimate's early life, messing around with a lot of different characters, but a few that stood out at the time were his Wolf, Rob, and later his own Joker. Zachary and Shuton had played a whopping 35 competitive sets in their time in this game, ranging from Wolf vs Olimar in the early days, to Joker vs Olimar, to Joker vs Aegis, and Aegis into Pit? While Shuton may have a slight losing record to Zachary, the fact he's consistently been able to take games and sets shows just how comfortable he is playing against these characters. Specifically Joker and Wolf. I mean, take a look at Ultimate 1 and 4 Grand Finals and Winners Finals. Him and Zachary played a combined 13 total games alone at this event, and while Zachary ended up taking the event, Shuton clearly knows how to fight Joker well enough to bring him to this breaking point with most. And on the flip side, let's take a look at one other of Ultimate's most brutal beatdowns of a player matchup. Leo versus Dabuz. While we're all fans of Dabuz in the modern day, shit, if you were going by his gameplay, it seems like Leo isn't. Having a staggering 22-1 record against the player, Leo has almost always dispatched of him with ease. While most often this is with Dabuz playing Rosalina into Leo, that doesn't mean he hasn't tried other characters, most notably his very own, very impressive Olimar. Dabuz is a tri-main through and through, and while we might not see all of his characters that often anymore in the modern day, he clearly is one of the most prolific Olimar mains of all time. While he hasn't won a major with the character, he's taken down the likes of Tweak, Shattuck, Yara, Crepe Soleil, and hey, would you look at that, Zachary. And yet when we look at him try this character against Leo, It's a resounding failure. MkLeo shuts it down with ease almost every single time. The Buzz's one win against MkLeo was with Min, and when that didn't work out in the run back, he ran back to not his trusty Rosalina, but to Olimar, and it didn't work. I hope this paints the picture I want it to, that Leo at any point in his career has had a dominant hold on the Olimar matchup from most opponents, a character he's never really had to fear, because he's never been made to fear them, outside of one player in Japan who he rarely gets his opportunity to best. Now, let's kick this off with 2GG Prime Saga KickOff, a historic tournament pre-local. No, seriously, this first encounter happened at a pre-local, not the real event. I feel like I'm being gaslit right now. Everyone talks about this being at the real Prime Saga, but in doing my research, no, this was just the pre-local. We start the set off and there's already an observation to be had. Why the fuck is he going Marth? Throughout Ultimate, Leo has stated before that he truthfully thinks Marth has the ability to keep up with the cast, even when most other players and commentators disagree. You can clearly see though that Leo's Marth is a cut above the rest of the Marth player base. Alongside this was still that time in Smash Ultimate where people were still trying out characters to see if they would fit as secondaries to help them with struggles. Notably, MkLeo would try Marth for the likes of ESAM at a point around this time, so it's fair to say he simply thought, why not practice it here? In winners finals of a pre-local. Look, okay, when you win so many tournaments, what's second place every now and then? The commentators also mentioned a little bit into Game 1 that the two had actually fought in the crew battle earlier at this event, a style of match in which both players are on a team with others and swap out after a loss, with the winner carrying over whatever stocks they had left. The commentators say that in this alleged crew battle, MkLeo went as Ike, a character, mind you, that he won Genesis with, and got kinda destroyed, so that's another reason to try out your Marth here. And after that got packed up for 2 games, alongside a panic swap to the extremely rare MkLeo Wolf, which got slightly closer to taking a game, winners finals was over, and thus the first meeting of these two in bracket was over. Shuton completing the world record of how fast can you kill a god speedrun in just under 8 minutes. Their next encounter was in the same day, happening in grand finals of the same pre-local, not the real tournament. I repeat, it was just the pre-local. Leo would again try his Wolf in games 1 and 3 with similar lack of success and attempt to counterpick in game 2 of, Korin? I guess that character existed back then. 2 meetings at the same pre-local ending in 3-0s and not even meeting in the main bracket after would send these two off to their separate sides of brackets for a few years. This, however, would come to an end at the Scuffed World Tour, an invitational hosted after some, unfortunate events that we don't need to get into in this video. MkLeo would yet again meet Shuton, this time instead of playing his Wolf in Marth, playing his Byleth. And Marth, again, what the fuck? Well, the Byleth pick was serious and managed to take Shuton to last hit. A dominant game 2 from Shuton would swap MkLeo off of Byleth and onto Marth. Though, I will say this time the Marth was a very uncalculated move, to say the least. MkFuego was hot off reverse 3-0 and Kazuya main riddles with Marth at the tournament, and I've heard many stories about the substances he was on during this tournament. In other words, he was, off of that good shit? Is that what I'm supposed to say? 1-3-0 later, and this would be the end of Leo trying his sorties against Shuton, and would mark their next 2 sets as, well, the ones where he actually went his goddamn main. Their next meeting would be after a shift in Leo's time in ult, notably being sponsored by a different organization, losing to multiple lower ranked opponents, and would also be in Shuton's home region. MkLeo and Shuton would face off in Winterside Top 32 at Japanese Super Major Delta 8. This would yet again be a 3-0, but in this set we finally got to see what a focused MkLeo would look like against the player. Game 1 would end in a last stock last hit situation, with both players deep in the dark red percents, with Shuton finding a yellow Pikmin up throw to seal the deal. And while Leo held an insane lead during Game 2, Shuton would find an absolutely diabolical white Pikmin to latch onto Leo to bring him up to 40%, then closing out the stock with the rest of the game in a quick manner. But I think the most heartbreaking part of this set, and the most telling part of it, was in Game 3. Leo being down nearly 100% on last stock scenario would end up clawing his way back with an honestly kind of insane opening on Shuton's Olimar, leaving him at roughly 90% and in the corner. However, due to the threat of Olimar's whistle completely negating any hit Leo could go for, Leo wouldn't pull the trigger on any opportunity during this advantage, and would get hit by an up smash back air and purple Pikmin snipe to end this set in another 3-0. 3 more games and 3 more opportunities to finally break his losing streak versus Shuton, would fail. This brings us to the present day. MkLeo would fight Shuton at Canadian Super Major Get On My Level Forever. This would take place in losers top 16 of the tournament, with both players being upset much earlier than anticipated. MkLeo losing to Canadian Duck Hunt Zog, and Shuton losing to the Roy Menace from Georgia, Kola. The winner of this set would go on to play Kazuya Wilds, who was on an amazing run of his own, and if they beat them, they would end up in a top 8 placement at this event. Starting off, Shuton starts this matchup perfectly with an Olimar neutral air into red Pikmin back air to push MkLeo into the corner. Shuton would then punish Leo's attempt to force his way back to stage with a dash attack with a fade back white Pikmin toss into purple forward air. Already off the bat, Leo was like 0 for 5 billion and attacks whiffed and has also taken 90%. This is historically how most of MkLeo's sets versus Shuton have gone. This also activates Arsene, which, while Arsene is good, you typically want him during moments where you're trying to get a kill. But MkLeo doesn't give a fuck about that, apparently. After a brief scramble situation in the corner of the stage, MkLeo would find an up air on platform into forward air. While Olimar's whistle grants him super armor to not get launched, he still takes a whopping 41% from these interactions alone. This is followed by a beautiful walk back down air, hitting just the sweeping hit and not the spike to bring Shuton in. While the following neutral air misses, Leo still has enough time to hit Shuton with a dash attack, pushing Shuton into the corner. Off the bat, it was clear to me watching this for the first time that something was different. I watched the Delta set live in the comfort of my own bed at roughly 4 AM on a night where I was just as unemployed as I am today, and I hadn't seen nearly this level of precision in how Leo played his advantage state. I mentioned that during the Delta set, MkLeo dropped an edge guard in Game 3 to lose the set. What I didn't mention is how he consistently dropped edge guards that would have gotten him his first game win against Shuton. Even if this string was small, it showcased Leo truly understanding when he can and can't punish and push advantage state on Olimar. And this stock is cleaned up with a down air off the same scenario to end Shuton's stock at a measly 81%. During Shuton's next stock, he would quickly again be pushed to the ledge by Leo. While Arsene would soon run out, Leo would hold Shuton to that corner to the tune of 46%. Shuton also wasn't safe in the center stage, however, as a quick short empty hop to bait Shuton's shield would result in MkLeo grabbing Shuton for a down throw. And while the following back air traded with Whistle, Leo was able to survive the purple Pikmin up air that hit him. If you're confused on why I mention which specific Pikmin does each attack, it's because, surprise, they all have different stats. This is fairly common knowledge, but I'd be remiss to not mention the standouts. Purple Pikmin's insane damage and kill power on normal hits, blue Pikmin's incredible grab strength, yellow Pikmin's hit stun, and white Pikmin's ability to do more damage when latched onto you than a goddamn freight train. Shuton quickly evens off the stock count with a purple forward air into yellow forward air. In Olimar vs Joker, a lot of the heavy swings are going to come from off stage, both characters having exceptional recoveries in terms of their distance they can travel, yet minimal for them to do to really fight back to get to the stage, leaves this matchup as one of the very few where edgeguarding and offstage play is pivotal. A little bit into the second stock, we see Shuton even things up with a slew of up smashes and up airs, but a cheeky Rebels guard from MkLeo allows him to summon Arsene yet again in record time. While 66% is a little early, there are a few ways Leo can confirm into a kill around this percent, and we see Leo go for it a few times here. Arsene down air specifically could lead into an up air kill off the top, and if his up smash didn't whiff, that alone could have been Shuton's second stock gone in an instant. After Arsene disappears and at 100+%, Leo is able to find the kill after enough whistles to give a football player PTSD. Unfortunately for Leo, he'd get pushed into the corner from an Olimar down smash and finished off with another forward air to cut his stock, leaving them both at 1 stock apiece and notably very even percents. If this were the Delta set, or perhaps, I don't know, any other set they've played, I feel like I'd be betting against Leo in this situation. But his ability to threaten early stocks in this set is something not seen in any set since the first time he took a stock versus Shuton. After a brief ledge trapping sequence, Shuton is able to find a sneaky up smash reversal to take Leo up to 53%, but notably not taking center stage. Leo capitalizes yet again and pushes Shuton off stage. Shuton throws his Pikmin to try to get the ledge faster, however this means he doesn't really have a way to fight off of ledge. After another trade, Shuton makes it to the corner of the stage right as Arsene appeared. Leo goes for a down throw back air that would have been true on most characters, but Olimar's whistle allows him to take it and fight back with a red Pikmin forward air to build space. However, as soon as he starts throwing Pikmin to try to make Leo hesitate, the Joker main jumps forward to hit the first hit of forward air to confirm into an up smash, to take his first ever game versus Shuton at 105% and end his losing streak once and for all. Me, and I can only assume many others, were ecstatic for him to finally take a game, yet cautious about his ability to close any sort of set. His aggressive play in this first game, while flashy and fun to watch, leaves not much room for error on the side of Joker. Landing Joker's precise combos and confirms on a tiny character like Olimar isn't exactly the easiest thing to keep up with for potentially 5 games in a row. Game 2 sees us run everything back, from characters to stage to ults to even Shuton amassing a rather large lead of roughly 50% and summoning Arsene while keeping phenomenal stage positioning. A white Pikmin latched onto Leo alongside a down tilt into forward air leaves the percent at a 91% difference, without even half a minute going by. Thankfully, Leo finds an Aegon to force Shuton off of his ledge positioning and cover a slight bit of their percent difference. However, a risky drift in Nair at center stage gets shielded and punished by a footstool out of shield red down air. Wait, what the fuck? Olimar can footstool dare out of shield? Anyways, this leaves Joker at 135%, with Shuton quickly cleaning up the stock at the corner with a blue back air, leaving him at only 23% taken on his first stock. If Leo wants to get back in this game, he needs to start playing that aggressive style again. From the start of this game, we've seen Leo pull his punches and scrambles and when having positional advantage. Sure enough, Shuton yet again pushes Leo off stage in the corner with roughly 40% to his name and Arsene pops. It's like this positioning is just a way to summon him or something. But in time, Leo fights back out of the corner with a dash attack to take up space. Leo manages to catch Shuton's roll in with an Arsene down air. While he misses the up air to drag Shuton onto the platform, Shuton lands there and whistles, which then allows Leo to hit a down throw into up air, which beats out Olimar's whistle, taking the stock in an instant as the clock is about to hit 6 minutes. From the moment Shuton lands off of the Angel platform, Leo seems to have a read on how Shuton wants to act. While his first attempt to nair into Shuton gets shielded, he manages to find an up throw into forward air and a down tilt after to even up percent with just a little bit of Arsene left. A dash attack and Aegon even end up pushing Shuton far into the corner with Arsene running out just as Shuton hits ledge. While Shuton tries to fight back to center stage, his attempt is almost flawlessly countered by MkLeo. Even the yellow Pikmin Shuton manages to attach only really gives Leo more Arsene. Leo is then able to find a classic Joker kill confirm in the corner to flip this game on its head. Now he's the one with an insane lead, and yet again it came from this confident, aggressive playstyle he seemed to have figured out between their meetings. Leo manages yet again to push Shuton to the ledge, and while a white Pikmin grabs onto him, Leo simply takes about 20% and uses the increased damage to yet again farm Arsene off of Rebel's Guard. Knowing when exactly to fight and get the Pikmin off of him, and when to just pop down B and use their damage against them is honestly such incredible quick thinking. Leo overextends on a down gun edge guard, which results in both players making their way back to center stage. It only takes one purple Pikmin to give Leo another Arsene, and a soft hit nair sends Shuton to the edge against Arsene, a scenario that's scary enough to give anyone something to talk about with their therapist. Leo finds a down air, but whiffs the following up smash, which, depending on Shuton's DI, could have simply won him the game on the spot if he had just delayed it for a sliver of time, resulting in Shuton making his way back to stage and swatting Leo off stage with a back air. And while that doesn't directly lead to a kill, he manages to find 141% on Leo and ends up finding the kill with a purple forward air on the left side of the stage, evening up the stock count. Now, from what we've seen, we know Olimar can easily make up a simple 60% difference with a double up smash into up air, so while Leo does have a lead here, it isn't enough to guarantee him an easy win here. Leo manages to keep Shuton in the corner, and a whiff grab manages to let Leo grab a quick up throw up air to tack on just a little bit more percent on Shuton. Shuton manages to get himself back on stage and sets up a jab lock into up smash, but misses the following back air to complete the combo. Shuton holds this advantage until finding a purple F smash to send Leo off stage. This is a double-edged sword, however, as it brings out Arsene at a prime percent to find this kill. Before he can even think about that though, Shuton finds a down tilt into purple forward air, which nearly ends Leo's stock there. This is now last stock, last hit, with both characters having their win condition. Olimar with purple on one side and Joker with Arsene in the other. Unfortunately, Shuton misses the purple Pikmin toss, leaving him with not much to contest Leo coming back to stage. Leo manages to find a back throw to reverse the situation that was just happening, and a lucky Aegon snipe sends Olimar to the top blast zone to bring the set count to 2-0 in Leo's favor. If you've ever competed in Smash, you're most likely to have run into a brick wall of a player. A bracket demon, if you will. I believe the scariest part of running into them isn't game 1. It's pushing them to the brink. The exhaustion it can take to have a lead like this versus a player you thought you might never beat can be terrifying, because it only takes 3 games for it to be nothing. The best thing you can do is to not focus on that and simply take it 1 game at a time. It's time for game 3. And more importantly, it's time for Leo to flip the script on this bracket demon, using every bit of matchup knowledge he's learned versus Olimar, every trick in the book he has as Joker to keep Olimar scared to commit an option. It will all come into play during this last game. And with Joker's most iconic kill confirmed, Leo manages to break his curse versus Shuton and show the world, even when he isn't in his prime, he can still fight back and surprise us with new results we had never seen before. Having a bracket demon is tough. Having a player you know you might never overcome is something we all run into. And while their set record itself doesn't show us an entirely accurate story, it's nice knowing that even top players run into these walls. And just like how Leo did, we too can push past any previous set record to add a new trick up our sleeves and maybe beat the impossible odds. Have a good night. Thank you to the channel members, Loco Soco, Lumi Luminosity, and Linksicle. You guys are the best. If you want to consider supporting the channel, make sure to become a member. It's only $5.99 and it helps me a lot. This is a much bigger video than I typically tend to do, and I really enjoyed making it, so any support towards this video helps me know that I can make stuff like this more. That's all from me. See you later.